Good evening and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back for the Miami Grand Prix. This is Division 3. My name is Jamie Morris and two special guests alongside me tonight in the name of Laser Lord and CT Nordus. Laser, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. What about you guys?
Good, thank you. And Nordus, what about you? How are you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm looking forward to this race ahead, and yeah, I'm doing great.
Indeed, it is. Then. So we are here at the Miami Grand Prix, one of the three US tracks on the circuit, and let's see how this goes. Because I know in real life it's not really that great for racing, but sometimes the league racing it is fantastic as well because you get to see all the side-by-side action as well, heading down towards the final few corners where it can make or break. Hurricane and Hazara crashed there as well in a few seasons ago when it cost him dearly a podium. But Doris, what do you think of this track, mate?
I haven't had the yeah. Well, I can only speak for how it was last season. I think it's improved from last game, in my opinion. But it's still one of, in my opinion, one of the worst tracks in real F1 and on the game. In my humble opinion, yeah.
I do agree as well because we really need one USA race at this. They show some fantastic pace. Not Miami. Las Vegas has shown some phenomenal races with that 1.8 kilometer mile straight and 1.2 miles. So that's very, very good indeed. But we'll see then what happens here. Qualifying, of course, a different track to Las Vegas with the twisty nature of the circuit, especially the first and last sector as well, where it's very, very difficult indeed to get the power as well. So it can be very consistent and very smooth on the throttle. I'm on board with the Mercedes of Keith first, as I'll take you through a lap with him. So just can see Keith just warming up and trying to get some temperature in those tyres before he sets sails off for a lap around here in Baku. But here comes Keith now towards turn 9. Baku, sorry, Miami. There comes Keith now towards turn 9. This is a heavy breaker, so we've seen many people go over the inside of here as well. I've seen it plenty of times before. You can go side by side through this particular part of the track, but obviously you've got to end it before you get to this this narrative here, because Ninja, last season, Ninja crashed there in qualifying, and his name is Vettel, by the way, for those who don't know. But 3 minutes in, no qualifying laps so far. We're just waiting for every single driver to be out there for the time being to get their first laps. Laser.
Yeah, so Keith is leading away. Then you got Ronnie in second. Can start the laps next. Then there's a gap back to Ferrari, I think, of Otkosh. So on board with Keith, about to start his lap. So.
Here we go then, on board with the Mercedes man who got demoted into Division 3 but seems more comfortable as well, as we ride on board with the Mercedes then, as he takes us through a lap around here in Miami, Florida, as we head down towards turn 1, looking at the black box to the right side, clipping the apex, but he goes out wider towards turn 1. Does he make it stick for turn 2 and turn 3? He does slightly, but turn 1 would have definitely cost him a lot of time then, as we make our way now towards this fast constant change of direction. In the first sector we go into 6th there, into 5th, barely applying the base throttle. Now you want to take a late camber in towards this corner here, take a late apex and sling your shot back through on the straight once again now with the DRS enabled for Keith as he goes on to go down towards turn number 9. Every single driver out there except Mr. Wiggles and Matty are still out there for the time being, but the rest of them have stayed in. 4 minutes left to go and nobody's got a time so far, but that could be a much change because you never know. In the first lap times they could have validated as well. So here comes Keith towards the final few segments of this racetrack. This is where it makes a break, according, because it's so easy to run out wide through there or hit the wall, so you can have your wits about you. And also turn 16 is very important as well, because if you mess up the chicane, you guarantee to mess up turn 16. Plus with the DRS activated behind you, you can be very careful indeed then.
Gonna run out of energy down here, Keith. I thought that when we're halfway through down the lap, he's out now. Should have harvested it a bit better before. Let's see what you can do.
And Laser, in terms of harvesting energy, where would you go for a lap around here? Oh, Keith goes quickest, by the way, obviously, because it's the first lap time. But Laser, what would you, what would you think is the strategy?
Well, I would normally leave it the hot lap all the way through, but I think he abused the overtake on that straight too much through his lap, and that's why he ran out towards the end. Would have cost him maybe about 1 or 2 tenths. So can definitely improve on that. Probably go second.
And Nolan, what's your opinion on the track? Do you think we get some excellent racing here tonight?
Yeah, it's, on the game you obviously don't have the same amount of dirty air as you have in real life, which we've seen is become an issue this year, except for like a track like Bahrain. We saw some pretty good racing, but in tracks like Japan and Australia and leading up, Jeddah was alright, but we've seen this year that dirty air has become a thing again, like how it become a difficult thing again, like how it was back in 2021 and so on. So on the game, obviously, you have a lot less of that, which also induces for better racing, as what's usually the best is you can easily keep up in DRS trains. It's actually hard to break away in the DRS trains compared to real life, as Halvor now goes faster with a 27.1, and Energy then lines up in P3 right behind Keeps. But what I want to speak about is, I know Keeps, he has a very particular setup style. I've tried some of, well, not me, but I've heard other people try some of his setup, and they're extremely understeery, but for some reason it works out perfectly for him, which I found really interesting.
Yeah, I agree as well, because one of my mates has a lot of understeer setups. He's on a pad as well, and he's able to live with the understeer. I'm not quite sure how, as Babelli heads back in the pit lane. So we did see quite a few validations out there whilst you were talking, guys, and Jerry Oilglass was one of them outside of turn 13 is where he invalidated then, as Matty, who didn't pick up, the only driver, I think, not to pick up a 3-second time penalty towards in the Grand Prix. Matty's done a solid job so far, and let's see then what he can do around here in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, no, Miami Grand Prix, sorry, as we head down towards the heavy braking zone. This is turn 17. Carlos Sainz and Oscar Piastri made contact here, I think, back in 2024, as we head down towards the braking zone. Into first gear he goes. Quite rare to see that, as he upshifts through the gear, getting back on the power once again. And here comes Matty towards the line. What's it going to be for him as his first benchmark? It's, P6, guys.
Yeah, so Scani is on the lap, but he's messed it up. He had two big moments, so he's a championship contender at the moment, really closing in on the leaders. But he had two big moments, so I don't expect this to be too representative of his true pace. But we'll see what he does, whether he boxes or continues. He's going to continue, but he's run out of ERS, that's going to cost him even more time. Yeah, so he's down, but he made two big errors, so that cost him.
Yeah,
Mitch and Deer's off the track.
A trip to the pits might be necessary, as you mentioned, Mitch and Deere. There he is in the Haas then, and Keith goes quickest with a 27.096 there, so great lap time there from the McLaren driver, Mercedes driver, but there's more to be offered, because Keith has done 3 laps on the set of soft compound tyres, so lower the fuel, extra tyre grip, he may be going quicker than that notice.
Yeah, I think Scani, he's grabbed pole, I think 2 out of the last 3 races.
Mm-hmm.
So we know what he's capable of anyway. We know he's incredibly quick. But looking at his onboard, he's sliding with oversteer, and he had those 2 big moments that Laser talked about. It looks very twitchy, like it needs to be extremely precise, but which I think is quite normal, at least with the older setups for this track, to kind of navigate that slow section in sector 2, trying to extract the maximum, but it could easily upset the car, so you need to be careful of that. But I think if he hooks up a lap, he should be right up there.
Indeed, then, as Richard Deere heads back in the pit lane, Mr. Wiggles as well is also out there, but not got a representative lap time to his name. The man that's had 1 win and 4 podiums this season as well has Mr. Wiggles. So looking in great shape for so far, but the last few races, must be said, in Canada and Qatar and Japan have been absolutely disappointing for him, so hopefully he can come back stronger. Here comes Mr. Wiggles down towards turn we go then. Let's see how he takes it very nicely through the gear, just trying to get the throttle before you break traction, and now coming towards this fast right hander. Should be easy to flat out nowadays. As we come now towards the end of the first sector, he is up by, well, I didn't see the first sector, but anyways, here we go through this middle sector we go, just sweeping through the corners, making sure you take the nice tight slide through there as well, getting good momentum out of the corner. A late apex in towards turn 9, but the DRS then will be enabled on board with the Ferrari driver, Mr. Wiggles, who's improved by a second in the middle sector, so he's definitely on a flyer. But that moment in sector 1 may cost him, because you're going to carry so much speed through sector 1 as well, trying to have full commitment, but I think he was a bit hesitant taking curbs there, because he did avoid a lot of them. Now we're heading down towards the heavy braking zone towards turn 13, coming towards the final 2 corners, as there should have been no problem, but now this is where the challenge begins between amongst the drivers here, especially in the 50 lap, in the 25 lap race around here, because it is so difficult to drive around this track without making mistakes, and also it's just like one of the tracks where you can be disadvantaged as well because the guy behind you make a mistake at turn 16, the guy's all over the back of you in terms of the arrest orders.
Yeah, Pirelli's now out with by 3/10, but I want to point out that Keith set his lap on a second run on the same tyre, so he could, well, yeah, he could easily get in a fair bit more. But Pirelli now comes up to the line. He was 3/10 up in sector 2, so let's see what he can have found in the sector 3 as he goes up to P6 with a 27.5.
Yeah, so Mr. Wiggles was another one who uses ERS too early and ran out for the end of his lap, so he can definitely find some more time. So now you've got guys like Scani on the outlaps looking to improve from his first one, run at Energy Dan, Jake Boy and Halver, and then you've also got is Ronnie on the lap. Yeah, so he is Ronnie. I think he's on the lap going through sector 1, the left and right. He's a bit wide through the first them 2 corners. That's not ideal, but let's see how he does. Breaks into 4th. Misses the apex. Let's see the sector 1 time. Doesn't look fantastic so far, but it might be. He's right level this time, so it can definitely improve.
Let's see if Mr. Ronnie does improve or not. He's currently in P6 with a 27.522. There is 7 minutes left to go in this qualifying session, and so far it is Keith on pole position ahead of Halfler and Jake Boy in P3. I should wear my glasses. I don't know where my glasses are, but I can't see anything. There we go. I found my glasses. Makes it a bit better for my blur vision. But there's 6 minutes left to go in the session then, and Ronnie is improving, but let's see how much he improves in this middle sector then. There's a McLaren or Haas behind us. He's only improved by a few hundredths of a second then. So unless you can find mighty time in the final sector, I don't think he could get a higher than 5th because there is a bit of margin between those guys there. Maybe 5th actually, because I looked at it properly now with the glasses on. But here comes OWL Ronnie now towards turn 17 as we exit the final 2 corners we go. Let's see where Ronnie can place his Aston Martin as he makes his way. The first one towards the beam is going to be a 27.4. He does improve, but not on his personal best then, as Jake Boy is down in the first sector. Can he make up the time in the middle sector? We're about to find out now from Jake Boy. Yes, he is then. So over a 10th quicker in the middle sector on his personal best. So maybe tries to dethrone Keith for pole, although Keith is currently out on a flying lap so far. So right on board then with Jake Boy in the kick Sauber, and let's see how he does coming towards the final few corners of this racetrack where it's very easy to mess up as well because it's a heavy traction zone, and also with older tyres as well, it can be very difficult to accelerate the corners. But here comes Jake Boy towards the line. What's going to be a 27.2 for him in the kick Sauber, and I did notice as well that he made quite a few mistakes in his lap time. As Cars goes quickish, unbelievable, out of nowhere. The Indian driver sets the pace at the top of the time machines. He is indeed then. So let's keep an eye on Harpler as he's 4/10 up in the sector, and let's see where he goes. Will he go to P1? Let's have a look right now. Should do with that middle sector he had. As he goes up to the line is P1.
That's a mark there. 4/10 quicker than up. Gosh, it's going to be hard to beat, but we know Keith has good pace.
Scani just improved for his lap time for a more representative one of a 27.5. He still has time to go for another run, get into the pits, put a new set. And I think we still need to watch out for him, but it needs to improve by close to a second if he wants to be in the fight for pole position. And it's crucial now for McLaren because they're Ellie's been out for this race and last race, and they're there in the constructors high up. I think there was P2 or P3. So it's crucial now that Scani is the only one from McLaren scoring points here, able to score points here tonight, that he tries to maximise that and score big.
Yeah, Scani, I've known him for such a long time, and he's been an amazing friend, a great driver indeed, although he does struggle just a bit on this game, but I'll never forget what he did. As Keith now coming towards the end of the first set, oh, too much curb on the inside there, and saves the car. But that moment in the fast left-hander will definitely catch him out, and I think he has backed off. He has backed off then, so saving another lap there just in case as well, trying to regenerate the battery, cool the tyres down, and what a shame there for Keeves. But at least he knows the next lap he won't be able to do the same mistake twice, I hope.
Yeah, so they've just all came to the end of the second runs, and now it looks like Energy Dan's going to be the first one out to try to do his third run, as he's already halfway around the track, and Keith is, I think, going to enter the pits after his run. Or he might go for one, I don't know. But Energy Dan's the first one on track at the moment to start his next lap.
Dan has been doing practice before here as well in the practice sessions we had earlier in the week, so he has got a little bit of information on what to do during these Grand Prix as well, as we see the Mercedes driver who is second in the championship as well, so that is so close. But before I go on a tangent here, I want to mention the championship standings because they are extremely close, tighter than ever in Division 1 and Division 3. Burmeister's run away with it, of course, in Division 3, but yeah, it's just been an absolute rollercoaster ride for me so far, that getting to where I'm supposed to be right now.
Yeah, Keith's now is also going for he's going for a second run on the same tire. Right behind Energy Dan is going to be the first one. So I am guessing Keith's is going to try and save a set of softs because he's already done 2 laps on his first set, and he's going to now go for a second lap on his second set. And I doubt he'll have time. Well, he won't have time to go back into the pits to put on a new set of tires. So this will be the last runs for both the Mercedes, and they'll be looking to improve. They're also, I think, the lead in the constructors, if I'm not mistaken.
Mercedes, yeah.
Yeah, so they need to make sure they don't invalidate the lap times and put in a solid few. Maybe Keeps can slap on pole, maybe Energy Dan can slap it on pole. Oh, as he has a big moment there in Sector 2. That would definitely hurt his lap time. He's 300s up in the second sector.
As he now... Up.
What? Keeps?
He's the 10th up, yeah, so he's the 10th up on his. So.
See what he can do. He needs a bit more if he wants to fight for pole position. Bear in mind he had to bail out on his first lap, so as he clabbers the curve there. Oh.
Dan P3 by the way.
Now go for Keith. See what you can do. Second. Not bad.
On board with Pirelli in the Haas then. He's cooling the flying lap so far, getting a very nice tow off the back of the Kick Sauber. Both Kick Saubers are currently on their outlaps as well, so we'll chat for them later in the stage of the Grand Prix, because Havlar's taken pole, but not much, by 0.3 of a second then. That's a fantastic gap between Havlar and second place. Here comes Pirelli. Now this looks to me like a very cautious approach going in towards the Mickey Mouse session. He didn't have the confidence to try and go around it quickly than she should have, but I think that she was quite nervous to do so. So this is quite a nervous corner as well, because I remember Esteban Ocon crashed there in FP3 and Verstappen went over the bollocks as well in turn 13 and 16 there, but yeah, it can be quite dangerous. But here we go, down towards the breaker zone. Let's see what the championship leader can do as Pirelli now makes his way out of the final 2 corners, gets a very decent launch indeed, as we're about to see what he could do in the Haas. He crossed the line and it's only P6 for him then. That's a very disappointing shock for him.
Yeah, he's a championship leader and he could do qualifying a bit higher, but it's not the end of the world, it's only quali and still a decent position at the moment. But we'll see how everyone else progresses. We already know.
Ronnie goes up into P2 in the Aston Martin. What an incredible lap time there from the Aston Martin driver. Yukash goes into 4th place. Any chance has been able to finish his lap. But here comes Jake Ball. Can he make it a Sauber 1-2? He is up in the first sector by 1/10 of a second then, as his rival is Havlar, his teammate then, with a 26.653. So let's see then which one of the Saubers will get a pole, unless anybody else, of course. But as we head down towards the heavy breaker zone, we go down to the gears. They're clipping the apex, but he goes out a little bit wide in towards the turn 13 hairpin there, but still keeps it on the track limits there and trying his best to try and get himself in within the white lines and taking the right way to lines. Oh, how Jake had a massive wheel spin and unfortunately he's in the wall, so that's a qualifying prematurely over. But here comes Mitch Idea in the other Haas as he makes his way towards the line. It's only P8 there, so both Haas's had a terrible qualifying, but we'll see what happens in this race if it transpires or not.
Scanner's throwing off 10th up in the middle sector. So.
Let's keep an eye on Scotty then. He's won 2 times earlier in the year, 2 in a row for Scotty this season. He has been looking very strong so far, has Scotty, ever since he adjusted back to the F1 game. And let's see what he can do here then. Is he about to claim his first pole in the McLaren then, as he makes his way out on the final corners? Can Scotty take pole away? He can't. It's only P7 for him. And that leaves us with Havlar and Ronnie as they make their way back to the pillar. What about Jerry Oglass? He's out there somewhere. There he is, out of the final 2 corners. Let's see where the RB drive can go. It's only P12 bullshit for him. That's qualifying done, boys.
Yeah, Pirelli, that's not ideal for Pirelli, but he's still got a race to go, P9. And it's only 2 tenths separating him and it's one of his championship rivals, Energy Dan. And of course you've got Keith, who's also another championship contender, as well as Scani. They're all quite close together. But the race is going to be very interesting with Halver and Ronnie. you've got to say dominating the session.
Well, I basically, yeah, so, talk about that as well. That I don't know what I was going to say, but anyways, that's your qualifying for the time being. And half lows on pole once again in the kick Sauber ahead of Ronnie. Our championship rivals are down in P5 and in P9 then. So Papelli a bit out of place, but we know his race pace has been formidable as well. And we know Harain is on the rise as well. So keep an eye on that for the time being. But Papelli there hasn't really been showing the good results a few weeks ago, but he's been involved in a lot of drama contact. So hopefully it's contact free for him as he's trying to progress towards the top of the championship. But there's your classifications then. Only 12 drivers qualified. It is half lot on pole ahead of Ronnie. Keith in P3 ahead of UK Karsh in 4th place. Enichi Dan in 5th place, crucially ahead of his championship rival. Matty in P6 ahead of Scally, the Dutchman, a two-time race winner this season, ahead of J-Boy. Probelli in P10 ahead of Mitron Dia, Mr. Wiggles and Jerry Oglass. But notice, Laser, are you both looking forward to the race?
Yeah, of course. Strong qualifying by Mercedes, obviously P3 and P5, exactly what they need. And Nijidan is usually more of a race guy than a quali guy, so he could easily move himself up, especially now he's made his life quite a lot easier by qualifying in the top 5. Rain.
I forgot to mention this, by the way, guys, but somebody literally put it's going to rain during the Grand Prix. I can't remember who it was. It wasn't in the comment section on YouTube. But rain has hit the circuit then here in Miami, and it could change things up dramatically as well in terms of the order. Let's see who can adapt quickly on the ESPN compound tyres. I'm not quite sure if these guys have done any real practice in the wet or not, but if they haven't, then it needs to get dialed in very quickly on the ESPN compound tyres as well to make sure they don't overheat and wear out as much as they yeah, they're the softer compound tyres and they overheat quite a lot as well and lose a lot of tyre grip. But it is raining here in Miami then, and before we get going, let's read you the championship standings after the Canadian Grand Prix. So Probelli, 290 points ahead of Enishi Dan by 1 point, so Enishi Dan's on 218. Keith is P3, 260. That's 3 points away from the leader, Probelli. Mr. goes just a bit further back in P5 with 182. Havlar in 6th place, who hasn't picked up a podium just yet, but this could be a big chance for him. Is currently in 6th place in the championship with 172. Stank is P7 in the other Kickstarter with a, if I get my eyes right here, 154, so 154 points. And further down the field then, we've got Mercedes leading the championship ahead of McLaren. Kick Sauber is currently in P3 ahead of Haas, Ferrari, Red Bull Visa Cash App, Williams, Alpine and Aston Martin then are the drivers that have been eliminated.
Yeah, so just to add on what you were saying, I wonder if anyone chose wet weather setups to sacrifice quali for the race. I don't know if it's going to dry up or it's going to get wetter. But you already know, like, the guys who qualified at the back would have put more of a race setup up on them quali. I know guys like Energy Dan, not qualified too bad to be fair, and Probelli, they're more race guys. So we'll see how they do today.
Indeed. Notice, what's your thoughts on this race, mate? What do you think will happen?
I think managing your tires, the inters, is going to be hard. They usually, unless it's quite wet, the inters on any track usually eats itself up and overheats, and they don't last as long as you think they do.
Yeah.
So if it stays inter-ish, maybe it dries up a bit, then depending on if it's going to be dry at the end of the race, or if it's going to be where they might need to have to think about a one-stop trying to drag the inters all the way to the dry, or they have to do inters to inters, where they might not even last for a whole stint, where they have to maybe do a 2-stop. So I'm not quite sure how much the tire wear are for the inters around Miami, but it's definitely something to look out for.
Indeed it is then. So will it be a non-stop strategy or will it be a one-stop? Because you can go towards the end on these mini tyres or wet, because that rule of using using more than one tyre compound has completely disappeared because you've now in the wet conditions. So everybody out there is on the intermediate tyre then, and let's see how difficult this race will be, because it's so difficult to overtake people in the rain as well with the dirt here, and plus you don't have the DRS, the guys ahead either, so it's not easy to go past. But we've seen plenty of times where people have dropped behind their rivals and just can't seem to overtake them, even though they're on better tyres as well. So let's see how the off strategy works for some people out there. But Elliot is supporting Scani for the time being.
Now that I'm thinking about it, because keeps went only for 2 sets in the qualifying, of softs, I'm thinking maybe that it's going to dry up all the way at the very end, and that he's looking to strap on a pair of softs and have fresh softs of that, since he saved them and they can see the weather when they're in the qualifying. So I'm wondering if that's why he didn't go for 3 sets.
Yeah, it's a big risk for Keith because we know the softs don't last very long. But if, as you say, if it dries out right at the end, it might be worth it, or a late safety car. But we'll have to see how his strategy pans out.
Yeah,
indeed. Then
the inters might not even last all the way until then. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, what are your guys' predictions for the race?
I don't usually do predictions, but Noldus, what about you?
Yeah, don't want to give anyone commentator's curse. Yeah, I don't know. I think we could see if Energen keeps his nose clean into turn 1 and the rest of the turns for lap 1. I think we could definitely see him moving up. He loves the wear. He loves race pace over qualifying. So I could definitely maybe Energy Dan up on the podium there. I won't make any other predictions other than that.
Potentially, as all 12 drivers then are lined up on the grid, ready for the Miami race here as well. It is wet conditions, and we'll see what happens going down into turn 1 in a few second times. The panels should be lighted up and see the drivers where to go. But there we go. Then it is 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And we are underway here in Miami for the 4th race to see. Let's see who gets the better starts. Look at that Havlor, massive wheel spin, but still in first place. Now we've got Keith and Energy Dan going side by side in towards turn 1. The 2 teammates now go head to head as we head through turn 2 and turn 3. But Energy Dan, I think he might have the advantage around the outside in towards turn 3. He does. Energy Dan puts himself into P3. That's a fantastic move already against his teammate as well. Has to make that move happen because he knows he's 1 point behind in the championship. So every point is crucial there as they all seem to get away unscathed for the time being. Then no one's spinning out in the early stages of the Grand Prix, which is a good sign there, boys.
Yeah, so Utkarsh had a bit of a poor start. I think he's down 6th. I think he started much higher, like P4, but I'm not entirely sure. Let's see where he started. So yeah, Utkarsh lost 2 places. That's not ideal for him. Energy Dan had a cracking start, and we'll see how this race goes for now.
Indeed, then, so no DRS will be activated because, of course, it is in the wet conditions, remember, so no DRS will be activated for the time being, although they do allow it in circumstances, but not on the F1 game because it's just too unrealistic for that. But yeah, let's see how it goes then. Havlor has pulled a gap over 1.1 seconds then, so yeah, the championship rivals getting so close. Where's Papelli? Papelli's up to 8th place there, so not able to make the inroads he needs to on the first lap as he tries to and get as many points as he can from Energy Dan. Energy Dan's running a comfortable P3 so far in this Grand Prix. They're just sticking on the back of Ronnie there in the DRS range and the slipstream as we head down towards the heavy breakers on the turn 17 we go. It's very important to get traction in this area as well, but it's Energy Dan looking for a move on Ronnie because Ronnie seems like he's struggling in the past few laps there, and Energy Dan is all in the back of him, guys.
Yeah, so Halbert's stomping away at the moment, so if Energy Dan wants any chance to win, he's got to pass Ronnie in an efficient and clean manner. Another person I want to mention is Jake Boy. He's really struggling. He lost 4 places at the start and now is 1.7 behind 11th place.
And it looks like Mishan Deer has had a problem too. And Notice, what are you going to
say? It wasn't anything. You go.
Anyways, then, so it's Havlor who leads. The gap is 1.6 seconds then. And Ronnie's under massive pressure because both Mercedes are constantly harassing him as well around this track as well. But it's so difficult to overtake as well. So as long as you get good exits on the pivotal corners, like turn 16 and turn 17, it should be okay. Just get some decent exits there. But you might be out dragged towards the line later on in the Grand Prix as well. That's the power of the DRS for you. As you can see, Keith being very conservative, not going for a move just on his teammates, so I think both Mercedes are just working in harmony for the time being. They're trying to keep the rest of the guys behind, but it's been so good so far from the Mercedes boys. But although one will have to double stack later on in the Grand Prix as well. It is lap 2 out of 29. This is your race leader Havlor, who is leading here at the Miami Grand Prix, and Havlor hasn't had a win for such a long time either. I don't think he picked up a win last season. I don't think did Havlor as well in Division 3. So if he keeps this up, keeps showing some amazing pace, he should be up there for the contender for the win and the championship, or not the championship, but podiums.
Yeah, however, just needs to keep his nose clean, pick up no penalties, and keep doing what he's doing, which is pulling away from Roddy, and he should be in a great position. Energy Dan and Keith are struggling to get past at the moment. So.
And also,
Yeah,
no,
I find. Sorry, what was you saying?
How can I actually bring you in?
No, I was going to say that Halvor, with already a 2-second advantage here, you would think he would have broken through his battery already, but he's keeping it nice and tidy. So this is just pure pace from him. He's just keeping that battery under control, which is very encouraging for him in his race. But it looks like usually, well, obviously for the rain.
Yeah, so by the way, Ronnie made a big mistake out of turn 9. He had a massive oversteer there. And here comes Energy Dan now, side by side, capitalising from that mistake as he puts himself just in second place. But here comes Ronnie then, back down the inside, use a bit of overtake as well as we head down towards the heavy riggers at the turn number 9. Ronnie has the outside line, but Energy Dan has the outside line, but this converted to the inside line right now as Energy Dan squeezes just a bit, making contact with the wheels there between those two, as there's absolutely no way these two are going side by side, as one of them has to go off the track there. Energy Dan picks himself up with 3 seconds penalty, so one of you should have backed out, and unfortunately Dan found out the hard way.
I think he'll get that removed. It wasn't. They were side by side, and he had no other way than just cutting the track. And Keeps goes now for a move. Maybe he's even going to go for a move on Energy Dan. He stays behind his teammate. Well, here comes Ronnie. Oh, goes extremely deep, but he stays ahead of Keeps. Kind of was a bit boxed in there by his teammate. As Ronnie now goes for a move again over on Energy Dan and takes back the P2.
Yeah, wow, what incredible race has been shaping up so far. But so we know that Havlar is beautifully controlling the pace there as we see somebody drop down the order. I think it's Scanny now. He's side by side with Mr. Wiggles in turn 1 and turn 2. Hopefully don't do a Kevin Magnussen and Logan Sargent and crash there like it was in 2024 when Lando Norris picked up his first win of the season here. Well, first ever win in F1 at the Miami Grand Prix last year with Verstappen. Ran over Bollard, had a bit of damage to his body car there, so that's why he couldn't really show his potential. But Max Verstappen, we know, is an absolute incredible beast. If you love him or hate him, regardless, you got to respect how good of a driver he is, because I know a lot of people hate him right now, but that's obvious reasons right now. But after Verstappen leaves the sport, I think he's going to be like one of the most iconic people, like Kimi Raikkonen, Sebastian Vettel, etc. But here comes the McLaren driver then, gaining on the back of the Ferrari, but he's just a bit too far behind for the time being there, so I'm not going to go for the move just yet. But Havlar is doing a fantastic job in first place there, just keep it nice and controlled, keep it with the right irons, making sure you don't do anything stupid indeed. And Havlar has shown why he's the race leader of the Grand Prix by pulling away by 4 seconds.
Yeah, so both at the moment, both Scani and Probelli are kind of stuck. They need to sort of get a move on, especially Probelli down in 10th. I don't know if his pace is better than Mitch or not. If it is, they can do team orders, but at the moment it looks like a similar pace. What have you got to say, Noldus?
I was going to say that I'm looking at Scani's onboard. He's quite low on battery and he doesn't put it in none. He just keeps it in medium. And due to the rain, the amount of harvesting you can do, you that kind of ends quite early in the lap because you're going so slow. So he'll definitely, unless he finds that non-toggle, he's going to struggle with battery because he's set down on 11%, and the maximum he can get is 40%, and he uses all of that back on the down on the main straight. So that's a bit unfortunate for him because you need that battery. That's the only way you can overtake in the rain. As Keeps and Energy Dan now are going side by side. Energy Dan stays ahead. Looks like Energy Dan might be struggling, but it's now dropped 1.8 to Ronnie. I don't know if he made a mistake. I don't know if you caught that.
No, I didn't unfortunately, mate, but... Is he? He is actually. The gap's 3.4, so the gap was 4.2 earlier on, and Ronnie now being released in clean air, getting past Energy Dan and Keith, he could have the pace to try and catch Havlar. So Havlar, who thought he had his own way, but unfortunately didn't because there's a faster push at Aston Martin to see. So Havlar versus Ronnie. Let's see then which one of these two will get their first wins of the season. I know Michel Dier hasn't won for quite a long time, as was said there, after the Brazilian Las Vegas Grand Prix, where I think he took his last win there for Michel Dier. Currently down in P9. Played second best to his teammates for the whole season, but we know that Michel Dier is a very good driver indeed, as it looks like it's stopped raining on the circuit, guys, so I think with dry compound tyres may be introduced later on the Grand Prix.
Yeah, the inters will start eating up now that it's getting dry, so they need to start thinking about the next couple of laps depending on how long the track stays damp, they need to start thinking about when they're going to switch, because the interests are going to start absolutely deteriorating now.
Indeed, they are. I saw that as well. Keith had a massive moment as Mr. Wiggles has got a 3-second time. So here comes Keith around the outside in towards turn 1 and his own teammate there. Let's see if they make it out stick. Yes, they do. As Energy Dan has the race line, he's able to scoop into P2 just ahead of his own teammate there. But we should see the hardcore power tires being introduced very shortly, because you don't want to do medium, because mediums, well, they will make it to the end, but they'll be absolutely shredded, and therefore wishing you did that hard to medium strategy. But here we go then, on the back straight once again. DRS hasn't been able just yet in this race, as Keith is right at the back of Energy Dan then, as a man who got demoted down into Division 3 this season. Both of them, Energy Dan and Keith, are finding themselves on the track, racing together as teammates as well, as it's very important for the Constructors' Championship as well between those guys. It's very, very close indeed between all three constructors as we head down towards turn 9. Then you can see that Keith is by this time just waiting. I don't think there's no DRS has been enabled, Laser.
Yeah, so just to mention this, it's going to be very important in inter-team battles, and Mercedes and Ferrari, they're very close, and Haas on track when they pit, because someone's going to get priority, whoever the lead car is, I guess. So this is a critical lap for Keith that you get past Dan, and critical for Danny stays ahead, and same for Clash and Wiggles. So we'll see what they all do. I don't know if Keith's pushing for a move here. He's going to have DRS, so Energy Dan's going to be under threat. He's using the batteries trying to defend it. Keith has a lot more though, and he's going for a move here. Oh, there's not much Dan can do to defend that, unless he's late on the brakes. Which he is, or is anyone in the pit? Aggressive defending, I think, but fair. And Dan's going to get priority.
Oh no!
In the pits. They're double stacking.
Oh no, they're double stacking.
They're double stacking at Mercedes, and this is going to go home along. As Energy Dan almost picked himself a penalty for going out of boundaries there. But both Mercedes have decided to double stack. Then this is the time to pit. And unfortunately for Keith, who will drop all the way down the order then as he puts on a set of the hard compound tyres there. So people. Has he? Oh my goodness, Keith.
Bad to us.
I don't think he changed, like Jensen in Mexico, I don't think he changed it from to Inter. I think he's gone like, well, I think he changed, I don't think he changed it on the hard compound tyres. I think he kept it on Inter, and therefore the pit crew assumed Inter was the way to go. Oh, what a shame for Keith that his race has been ruined already after pitting onto a bonus between the compound tyres. I know what it feels like, because I think that when I'm pitting, when the rain is clear, I'm going on the dry compound tyres, but sometimes you just forget to toggle the steering a bit as well, just trying to. Yeah, it's just all about you got to be 100% at all times in terms of car reactions. But the top two stayed out so far.
Yeah, it's a rough one for Keith. He should have just stayed out another lap anyway. It's probably loses less time than a double stack, and now he's on inters as well, so it's a double whammy for him. So he was very happy about that.
I wonder if that's why the Mercedes were fighting for priority in the pits.
Yeah, he's still going for it now though, Keith. Despite being in inters, popped inside a Mitra and Deer, and he does get the move done.
That's what indeed will keep.
The hard compound tyres will need a couple laps to fire up, for one reason, them being a lot colder, and I think the track can still be quite slippery. So right now I think it's right on the crossover point, but in a half a lap, then I think Keith needs to just
oh no!
the pits right now.
Mr. Wiggles has picked himself up a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane then. Oh, what a shame there for Mr. Wiggles. He'll be absolutely devastated to that, because he started down in P10. He's up to P2 now, but he's on the hard compound tyres, the offset tyres. So could he potentially catch the guys ahead of him as Mr. Wiggles comes out the pit lane in P4 with Matty just right behind him, and in front of him is Energy Dan though. So Energy Dan did get the undercut on Mr. Wiggles there, but Mr. Wiggles then, with the tyres fired up, should be able to keep the attack on for a few more laps between those two.
So Halvor's maintaining the lead at 4 seconds, so he's maintained it consistently. Keeps just reacting to the pits. He doesn't need a safety car to get back into this really, or immense pace, which can be very difficult from how far he is back. The Haas are making steady progress, and Scani's moved up a couple of positions as well. So it's going well. And Wiggles, if he didn't pick himself up the penalties, he's in a great position.
Indeed Indeed he is, as Mr. Wiggles gains 7 places, but unfortunately he does have that 10-second penalty, and it's so costly nowadays to speed in the pit lane. You can't afford to do it at all, because it used to be a 5-second penalty, and now it's a 10-second penalty. That's absolutely harsh and cruel, but unfortunately going to follow the rules there, as we've got Mr. Wiggles then right behind Energy Dan. Let's see if he's there for the taking then, as we go off ball between those two. DRS should be enabled for the Ferrari driver on Mr. Wiggles. Can he simply just blast past, or will he wait for turn number 1, because he's getting closer and closer, but not close enough then. So I wonder, let's see if he gets him down towards turn 1. Although I know McLaren have already talked about good straight line speed in the past as well, so maybe Ferrari could be affecting that bit. But Havlar then sets the fast up to the Grand Prix as he continues to pull away from Ronnie by 3.6 seconds. Ronnie Havlar has done a mega job as well. But in terms of the championship, Energy Dan could be taking points away from Pabelli, because he's up into P3 and Pabelli's down to P8 then. But the penalties might come into a factor later on the Grand Prix as well to determine that, as we've got Kick Sauber who's in the wall. That's J-Boy as he heads off his pit lane.
Yeah, so just to mention what Norda said earlier about Scani, he really needs to save that battery. I'd say go by going none in that middle section of the lap by that little chicane, because his battery's struggling, he almost drops it there, and he's out of DRS of Utkarsh, and I mean Matty and Utkarsh maybe to get him down this straight having much more battery, and he'll have the DRS, which Scani does not. So he's going for the move as Wiggles got past Energy Dan. Utkarsh goes past Scani. So, yeah.
And also, Mr. Wiggles then puts himself up into P3 on a brand new set of hard compound tyres, then doing a really good job. But that penalty is so costly. It's just so brutal when you just speed over the limiter there. It's just a race ender, really, and a day ender as well, because you've got to do other stuff as well that you don't expect. But here comes the Mercedes driver then, as we see now the DRS wide open. Energy Dan looks like he's on a mission, as the DRS now is halfway down the straight, has been deployed. He can't get too close towards the Ferrari driver, Mr. Wiggles there, so he stays behind for the time being. There, Mr. Wiggles show it so incredible pace indeed, but the gap's gone down to 3.2, you two.
Yeah, Ronnie seems a bit quicker than Halver in these dry conditions, but the question is, can he get that down, and is he consistent? And Wiggles are also closing the gap to Ronnie, using Dan last lap for a DRS, and he's now broken it to Energy Dan, so he's now going to have to chase after OW or Ronnie, and trying to get a DRS this lap, which I think he might do, but it really depends. They're both level in the ERS, so it's all down to this first sector, whether he can close that gap, or Ronnie's going to keep him out of DRS for a bit longer. At the moment, he's just got it, but it's teetering on the edge. It's all about the exit, what's the exit like, and I think Ronnie has just done enough to keep him out for now, yeah.
I think from the looks of it, maybe Halvor is running a wet setup, and that's because he was clear of the field in the wet conditions, but now he's lost another 3-4 tenths in half a lap. So I'm wondering, and Ronnie especially is going to catch a lot. That's what he did last lap, he catched a lot here in sector 2. So I'm wondering if Ronnie is using more downforce, and that's why he's catching a lot, or is just Halvor struggling with maybe a inter setup in dry conditions.
Indeed,
yeah, Halvor's got to be very careful, because he might drop back towards the pack, not just Ronnie, but you've got Wiggles, Energy Dan and Matty not too far behind, and now Utkarsh and Scani just there, so yeah.
Here comes the Ferrari driver side by side with the Red Bull and Matty then, as we head down towards the heavy braking zone towards turn 17. Just a simple, nice DRS pass there, and he goes up into P5, does UK Kosh. Having a much better race this time, because we know he does tend to struggle, as Havlar sets fast up to Grand Prix, but the driver who is flying out there is Mr. Wiggles. He goes up the inside towards turn 1, he outbreaks himself. Will that give the Aston Martin all the encouragement he needs to get back at him? As we head down towards turn 3, there's very contact there between those two for good measure, but Mr. Wiggles and Ronnie get out there unscathed, as Ronnie stays at P2, as Mr. Wiggles stays at P2, sorry. But can he bring that gap down under 3 seconds though? He'd be hoping and praying that Havlar gets a second penalty, because Mr. Wiggles looks like he's on an absolute charge so far during this Grand Prix with tremendous pace, but unfortunately that pit stop has cost him dearly and big time as well.
Yeah, Energy Dan's really struggling at the moment. In the wet conditions he looked good, but now he's dropping back towards the pack, which involves Utkarsh, Matty and Scani. For those three, we already know Scani's one of his championship rivals. And Probelli's 3.7 back, with monitor that gap, see what you can do as someone's getting past. Or Utkarsh, Energy Dan and Matty will get into a battle, and Scani's right there as well. And now he's listened to us and he's gone on through the middle sector, Scani has, so that's going to be good for him.
Maybe he listened. Maybe he listened in.
Oh, as he almost drops it. That would have been good.
There we go then, on the back straight, we can see that these guys in close contention. DRS has been enabled, UK Kosh and Energy Dan. Let's see what happens going down towards turn 17 then. Energy Dan has no DRS at all, but as you can see, Kosh is not really using the battery and trying to save as much as he can, ready to attack in the next few laps of the Grand Prix as well. So here we go then, out of the final few corners of this racetrack. Will Energy Dan get swamped by the guys behind? And that'll be very bad news for him indeed in terms of the championship. Trying to take as many points his way as he can. Here comes the Ferrari with the inside. Into one turn, when we go, the Ferrari out breaks off and through goes Energy Dan, but he keeps it on the track there as he cuts turns. Here comes the Red Bull, Red Bull around the outside, into towards turn 2 and turn 3, but has to concede the place, and now Scally puts himself into P5, so a lot of changes there. A few people went off the track, and therefore they had to give the place back as well. So we got a mixture of cars in different positions, but it should be sorted out right now. And now Scally rides the back of Energy Dan and UK Cars, the man that won the last two races. In the last two races, he did a fantastic job so far. And let's see what he can do here in Miami, because the DRS is wide open for the McLaren driver. Mercedes have DRS in front of us on the McLaren, so Scally might get swapped on the straight as we head down towards turn 30. We go. Can he make the move around the outside? It's very controlled on the brakes there as we go side by side out of the corner, heading towards the triple right hand we go. But I think that Scally might have to give up there, because there's no point going side by side, because one of you is bound to make contact in the wall or get a track limit violation as well, which could be your last. And now we're heading to the back straight once again. So Verstappen, sorry, the driver in front of us is UK Kosh, and he's right behind with the DRS open on Energy Dan, so that DRS may be helping him to keep ahead of Scally, but Keith has picked himself for 2 second tablet, guys.
Yeah, these four need to work together with the Energy Dan train, because Probelli is catching them up quite quick. They're battling and not being smart. They need to be smart, just work together for now and then sort it out at the end. And you've also got Ronnie's dropped out of Wiggles' DRS, and Wiggles is really catching up Halver. If I was Halver, I'd use Wiggles for my DRS, because Wiggles has 10 seconds penalty and he's quicker than everyone else. And Halver should win the race even if Wiggles catches and passes him.
Yeah, Mr. Wiggles just took another 7/10 out of the gap to Halver that lap. Halver's at a 31.2 while Mr. Wiggles at a 30.5. So Mr. Wiggles has got some insane race pace here compared to the rest. Which he will be kicking himself about with the fact that he's got a 10-second time penalty, which unless he can pull a 10-second gap to Halvor if he passes him, which doesn't seem likely. He'll definitely kick himself for that.
Yeah, small mistake with big vehicle pushes indeed, as Mr. Wiggles finds himself on the podium, but unfortunately with that 10-second penalty cost him dearly as well. In the past, it used to be 5-second penalties, which was fair enough, but 10 seconds, oh my goodness me, it is very brutal indeed in terms of Formula 1. And Mr. Wiggles, despite driving a fantastic race in P2, knows that 10-second penalty is hovering around his shoulders there, but I don't think he'll care. He has got nothing to lose essentially with that 10-second penalty, so he might go chase after Havlar, who is right in front of us as well. As Stan says, nice save on Scally. Yeah, so Scally on the last lap locked up heavily towards turn 1, lost the rear of the car, but kept it pointing in the right direction as Kosh has got past Energy Dan, and in the background is the two Hasses swapping places, Mitrandir and Probelli there. So it looks like Mitrandir might be the quickest car in terms of Probelli there, giving his Haas teammates all the encouragement and all the chances he needs to try and catch up to the lead pair, because the Haas car has been looking very strong as well in terms of longevity, and we're almost halfway to the Grand Prix. Havlar still leads by 1.7 seconds, but we know Mr. Wiggles has a 10-second time penalty, guys.
Yeah, I've got to say, Kosh and Energy Dan are not being clever here. They're battling way too hard. They had a gap to Matty and Scania after they battled for Sector 1 last lap, but they've been battling so hard they're right on them. And it'll be soon enough that Mitrandir, Probelli and Oruglas will join the pack if they're not careful to continue the way they're going. So we'll see how that develops. And they're also falling back from Ronnie, who Wiggles and Ronnie are slowly catching up Halvor right now.
Indeed, then. So they're all catching up to each other as well. Mr. Havlar might not go place any for him, because the gap keeps decreasing. It was 4 seconds when he came out of the pit lane. Now it's 1.9 seconds between Mr. Wiggles and Havlar. But the benefit is, though, that he knows Mr. Wiggles has a 3-second time penalty there. So it might be a bit of ease on the shoulders, but you never know if that penalty could get removed or not. So Ronnie has to do the overtaking on the track. Tries to kill that podium, guys.
Yeah, Utkarsh there just got a 3-second time penalty, and I just think that Energy Dan will try and get his 3-second time penalty. He'll try and appeal that. So unless other people, unless Energy Dan now goes for a move, they're going side by side into the last corner here. Oh, Energy Dan just got pushed a bit wide there. He has to settle for P5 yet again. But yeah, what I was on about, Utkarsh is now going to drop to the back of this pack. All the way, the DRS trend is actually all the way down to P10 from P4. So he needs to hope and pray that either he can pull a gap, or the fact that he can, someone else can pick up a 3-second time penalty. As Matty now goes side by side with Energy Dan, but he thinks wisely and backs out because these are not corners you really want to go side by side in.
Yeah, but Utkarsh is broken the DRS, what you've just mentioned, because of what Matty and Energy Dan did, so now Utkarsh might have a chance of getting the gap.
Let's see how it all evolves then. We've got 40 laps left to go, so it's still a long race from here. No VSCs, no safety car, but Havlar is comfortably leading. The gap's been stabilising now between 1.9 to 2.2, so it looks like Havlar has caught up the pace as well. Matty gets re-overtaken, or ahead of Energy Dan as we head down towards turn number 11 we go. It looks like Energy Dan Matty stays ahead just for the time being then in that Red Bull, as Energy Dan does have that 3-second penalty. It could be costly towards the end because Probelli might gain championship points on Energy Dan as well, so that's the last thing Dan needed is to pick up a track violation, because Probelli and Scani and Mitrandir are right to his tail then. They're going to take him, but on board with the Red Bull driver of Matty, as we see him. No DRS enabled there, but here comes the McLaren driver of Scani, going wheels with Energy Dan there. Let's see who's late to the brakes, going down towards the corner. They both are, but the Mercedes there just tries to hold on to the McLaren. McLaren gets a better momentum outside there, and he takes away P6. But Energy Dan there, great move indeed. They're both late to the brakes, but Scani managed to pick up traction quicker than Energy Dan, as Energy Dan's been shuffled into P8 there in the Mercedes there. So Mitrandir gets past him for 7th place there, as Probelli with the next to follow as well. That's heartbreaking for Dan, because behind him is his championship rival. He looks in better shape and form so far because he doesn't have a 3-second penalty and therefore get ahead of him as well. So what a shame there for Probelli in P9, have to play second fiddle to his teammate, but he can't always be good in every single race.
Yeah, Energy Dan is really struggling. If you look at his battery and his pace right now, he's at the front of this train and now drop right near the back. So,
do you guys reckon that Mr. Wiggles can catch Havlar? Do you guys?
He's been dropping back a bit now. Maybe Halvor was thinking about saving tyres and Mr. Wiggles wasn't, or maybe Mr. Wiggles made a mistake. I'm not sure. He was catching so much a couple laps ago, so it's weird that he's now dropped back into that 2-second, because he was down on I think at 1.6 at one point. So he's lost 6/10 somehow, which is interesting.
On board with the battle, sorry about that, but on board with the battle for P5, because he's about to get spiced up, because all these guys have DRS as well enabled. Dan struggling with fuel, says Martin, so maybe why, yeah, he is actually struggling with fuel. You can see the yellow light popping up there on the Mercedes there, so the Mercedes has to do a bit of lifting. Oh, this contact, and Scani is in a half spin. Scani rejoins down into P10 there, but what a shame for Scani there. I'm not quite sure what happened, but these two now go side by side. Here comes the two Hasses once again, trading places as Jerry Origas, as the Haas slows down, gets past his teammate as well, and now he goes back down the inside. Oh, contact between those two, and here comes McLaren driver Scani then, trying to take advantage of these two going a bit wide out of turn number 2, but Probelli just holds on for the lead of the Grand Prix ahead of Scani there. It's very important that Probelli doesn't lose the 3-second gap towards Energy Dan, because if he does, then Energy Dan could lead the World Championship in the last few races, and as it stands so far, so Probelli has a lot of work to do from P8, and he's under massive pressure from Scani behind, and his teammates ahead of him as well.
Yeah, so I think Mitrandir tapped Scani, if I remember what happened correctly, and that's what caused that incident.
Yeah, well, someone went deep. I think it was Energy Dan and the Haas went side by side, and I think you're correct that Mitrandir broke himself and tapped Scani around.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate for Scani, but he's not lost too much. I don't think Mitrandir has damage luckily for him, although they have lost the DRS. If I was Energy Dan and he didn't have the pace, I'd use Matty to drag me away from that pack and hope he's quicker than Mitrandir and Probelli and Co.
Sensible solution.
Has now got the cap down again to 1.7, so it keeps fluctuating up and down. I think maybe it's because they're both doing a bit of mistakes here and then one lap one of them is clean, the other lap the other driver's clean. Yeah, they need to try and keep it spot on Mr. Wiggles, if he wants to win this on track.
Yeah, look at Utkarsh, by the way. He's almost got that 3-second gap back to Energy Dan. So it's a bit of while they've been battling, Utkarsh has just been doing his own thing. It's been working well for him, so we'll see how he does. But it's looking good for him for P4 at the moment.
It is a deal then.
P3 with Pen.
Matty's right behind no with the DRS then, so Matty should get it easily with that 3-second penalty. But Mr. Wiggles is slowly eating in towards the leader Havlor. The gap's gone down to 1.5 then, so Mr. Wiggles is on an absolute charge. I dare say the podium's out of the question and also a win out of the question, but nevertheless he's done a fantastic job. It's just a shame that pit lane entry, just that small mistake has big consequences during the World Grand Prix, and it definitely plays an effect right now. Is one in this Grand Prix as we see that Matty gets close towards Energy Down, but not close enough as the top two continue their way then of Havlor. Everybody's made a stop so far, so that's the mandatory pit stops out of the way as we can race towards the end there. So it is Havlor who still leads this Grand Prix in first place, doing a mega job, and it's a Sauber who's spun in the background there. It's a Ferrari! Cautious spun! Oh my goodness me, we talked about how well he was doing, but unfortunately he spun in the chicane and he was drawing all the way back to the field there, so all that hard work has been undone as he will fall down into P10. Then still in the points there is Carr, so all he needs to do is keep going and never give up. But what a shame there as well, because he running such a fantastic race, being alone there, but one slight hiccup has cost him dearly as well. So as we see now, the Mercedes of Energy Dan coming towards the final corner as he will start lap 20 out of 29 then. So 9 laps left to go in the Grand Prix. Havlor is still looking comfortable.
Yeah, by the way, let's give a massive shout out to Keith. He hasn't given up, and the gap has really come down to him and the guys ahead. So if he didn't make that mistake, he'd be in there. However, gets a penalty.
Oh,
and that puts Ronnie very close into a position that he can win this race if he can gain a little bit more time and keep it there. And that's one thing Halber didn't need to do. He went and did, like, that's the one thing he couldn't do, and he unfortunately got a penalty. It's easy to do. He now needs to get his head down and just try not to get any more warnings, keep it clean, and for his sake, he might just have it over Ronnie. It's going to be very close.
And look at this as well, that the top two have picked up a 3-second penalty, so they're essentially on a level playing field, those two, as they can fight it out now for the lead of the Grand Prix. But the problem is, though, they've got... Oh, sorry about that. But, yeah, of course he does. That's been in the pit lane, so nothing massive for him. But Ronnie has a big chance of winning this Grand Prix, then. Doesn't he know it? The gap is 3.4, 3.2, so he keeps fluctuating all the time. But Energy Dan there needs to find a few more hundreds to get himself in DRS range, but it's just too far back to do so. As looks like Ronnie's got this covered for the time being there. The gap is 11.5 there, as Mr. Wiggles is right behind Havlor for the battle of the Grand Prix here in Miami. Let's see then what happens going down into the final few showdown of this Grand Prix. Ronnie, though, is the main one in P3 because he does not have a 3-second penalty, and if he can he catch up to win this Grand Prix? He needs to get that gap under 3 seconds if he wants to win, of course, and make sure he doesn't pick up the penalties. As Pabelli and Scally trade places there as the Haas band goes up into P6 ahead of the McLaren driver. Next target on the road is Matty, and after that it is Energy Dan, his championship rival, although he does have a penalty towards his name as well in the Grand Prix due to exceeded trail limits, as we see these guys squirm out to turn 2 and turn 3 then, just trying to get the power as quick as you can, and now we're heading towards this twisty first sector. Can these guys stay close in contention of each other in the dirty air? It seems like yes so far. The curbs can be very lethal as well, as if you take too much curb or take the wrong amount of curb, you might find yourself in the barrier, as I did back in 2018, but luckily all things were resolved. But here we goes then, with the DRS wide open. There is 9 laps left to go in the Grand Prix then. As you can see, Pabelli has the rear wing on the back of the Red Bull, who has also got DRS on his done as well. As Pabelli might be a little bit patient, he's using the battery. Here he goes then. Can he go around the outside? In towards turn 11, we go. It's super close, but what a fantastic move from Pabelli to go up to P5, and his championship rival is just right there in front of him as well with the penalty. So this is going well for Pabelli.
Here comes Mr. Wiggles then. He's now got the DRS 310s. He's also got he had a full battery at the start of the straight. He's got a squeeze there. Oh, that is tight. But he gets the lead of the race. So let's see what he can do. He only needs, if he can find an extra gear right now, he could maybe pull a 7-second gap.
It. Ronnie was on for a win at that time. He just crashed out or spun. So now that has messed his race up, and he needs pits. He's got damage on the end plate. Don't speed now. To be fair.
Can you believe it? The man who had no penalties was hunting down the top two. As here comes Matty on Scally once again as we head down towards turn 1. Outbreaks himself, and the McLaren goes through as well. As the Red Bull now has to defend, but he makes contact with the Hasselhoff Michelin Deer as well. As he rejoined the circuit there, unfortunately making contact with people. But Scally is up into P5 now. But yeah, unfortunately there, for Michandia and Keith as well. We saw that contact going down to the final few corners of the racetrack as well. Just unlucky there. That's one of the things. Really. I mean, Roddy was what I was talking about. Roddy was on course for potential win because the gap was about 3.2. He was gaining slowly but surely, but unfortunately that 3-second penalty has cost him towards the end now because he was running penalty free. But ever since he picked up a penalty, it doesn't matter now. Then here comes Pabelli on, Energy Dan as we head down towards turn 11. Now on the outside he goes, but goes a bit deep off the track. And now here comes Energy Dan, reminiscent of Lewis Hamilton and Kevin Magnussen back in 2024 when they went side by side and Hamilton was off the track in the Mercedes. But Energy Dan still ahead of Pabelli.
Yeah, like that's giving a race to Halver now because obviously Wiggles has 10 seconds, Halver has 3. So as long as there's no safety car, Halver could just play this smart, stay upon Wiggles for now, pass him on the last lap and just guarantee his win. But we'll see how that unfolds. And you've got Prebelli, Energy, Dan, Scani now on for battling for a podium with Mitrandira and Matti not too far behind.
This is Havlar's race to win as well in P2. Like you said, he got less penalties out of everybody. He got a massive gap behind there. So it should go all into his hands unless he makes a very silly mistake in D, which he shouldn't do because he's so close to try and win the Grand Prix. Is Havlar in at the kickstart as we watch Energy down once again under massive pressure from Prebelli right behind as the two Titans go wheel to wheel of Pabelli and Energy Dan. Energy Dan, we do know, has a penalty for exceeding trying to miss. There's 3 seconds there. Pabelli doesn't have a penalty there in P4, so we have the upper hand on Energy Dan there. But how hard is he really to fight him? Because we know that these guys are a championship fight, and we don't want to see any damage whatsoever. And hopefully they keep it out of the tracks then. So here comes McLaren driver with the DRS open, and that is Pabelli, but he's not close enough to make a lunge so far for the time being. And as he buys his time right behind Energy Dan, and however Havlar is still sticking the DRS range of Wiggles. That's very important for his race though, to not lose the DRS off the back of him.
Yes, Scani's also dropped out of the DRS. Well, he's back in now, but he's momentarily dropping out of DRS with Prebelli, so for his sake he needs to get back in that DRS zone a bit more comfortable than he is. For 1.1 he needs to be within a second coming into this section, which he might have. It's very close to see whether he'll get it or not.
I think he just got it. But I think I see a lot of these drivers, they're squirming a lot out of these like difficult traction zones like that. Less cornering that we're coming out at the end of the straight here is Pabelli goes now for a move on engine and they're side by side. And Pabelli gets that move. Oh, there's slow on the exit. But he manages to stop any attempt of a switch back from Energy Dan. But Energy Dan now with the DRS open. Can we see him move down into turn 1? No, he keeps his place it smart and stays behind for the moment. But a lot of these drivers are really struggling on traction in a lot of the slow traction zones, and I think also that's why a lot of them have spun around. Specifically Scania, I can see in a lot of the harsh traction zones, his car is so twitchy, and I think that also accounts for more than just him, which may be why that some people are struggling and have spun out of this race.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it does look like Energy Dan found his pace back now, but it might be a little too late. For his sake, he's got to get past Prebelli and hope he can get that penalty removed, but we'll have to see what happens in the stewards room. But for Prebelli, he needs to stay ahead, just in case.
And he goes ahead of Pabelli then, up into P3 he goes then, so defence turned into an overtake as Energy Dan was defending from Scani, but then he turned his opportunities into an overtake. Now the problem is though, coming towards this Mickey Mouse section here in this twisty middle centre, you've got to make sure you get the power at the right time as well, because if you don't, then your rivals will be over the back of you. So here comes then the leading pack on Energy Dan, Pabelli and Scani will have the DRS. Scani doesn't have a 3-second penalty, neither does Pabelli, so expect to see one of them on the podium at least. But here we go, then here comes Pabelli on Energy Dan as he puts himself into P3 now and on the podium. What a fantastic drive. His qualifying hasn't been really strong, but he does lock up in the final corner. Does that give Energy Dan a bit of encouragement to go back down the inside or make a move? He doesn't. He stays behind in P2 or P4 for the time being then as the DRS is able for him, but he won't go over it down towards turn 1 then. Pabelli, what a fantastic drive from P10 to P3 right now, because we know qualifying hasn't been really his strongest suit. Same with Harry Kane as well. They don't tend to qualify well, and I don't think that Pabelli has picked up any poles this season either. So despite him not getting any pole positions, he has done a mega job to come back to the field, because qualifying is another thing, but race pace longevity and longevity of the Grand Prix is another thing. It's a battle between your physical fitness and your mental fitness as well. Like, which one's better, and can you try and push yourselves beyond the limits as well, as I found out on Sunday with that 50-lap race of go-karting. But here comes Energy Dan then on the back of Pabelli. I wonder what's his strategy now, because he's got a 3-second amplitude. Here comes Bachandia side by side with with the McLaren driver, but McLaren driver just inches in forwards just a bit there. And Michelin Diaz tries to catch him off guard as well. He's got some good, decent pace in the Haas. We know both Haas's haven't really been strong in qualifying, but their race pace is absolutely minimal as well. Michelin Diaz only picked up 1 podium this season, where Pirelli has picked up 2 wins on 6 podiums. Massive contrast there between Haas.
Yeah, so Oruglas is doing a nice solid job as well, sitting in P8, 2 seconds behind Matty. But at the moment he's getting clawed in by Utkosh, but he didn't have a penalty, and Keith ain't too far behind, although he has dropped, I think, a bit from Utkosh in the last few laps. And Ronnie is really catching up without a penalty, so he can still be on for some decent points if he can keep it clean for the rest of the race on fresh tyres.
Indeed he is then. So here is Pirelli right behind the championship leader. He's caught up to his championship, to his Norwich compatriots. We head down towards turn 1. Mercedes outbreaks himself. Energy Dan goes up into P3, and now Pirelli trying to fight back on the inside, but he cuts the corner and may have picked himself up a track limit violation there, as there's barely any room between those two. But Energy Dan gets ahead for the time being then. As you can see, he's just regenerated the battery as Pirelli and Scani about to go wheel to win as well. Here comes Scani ready to take pictures, as here he is down the inside in towards turn. Now this is a very risky move indeed, because there's barely any room on the outside of the corner, but they make it out unscathed now, and they will both have the DRS then, as we see Scani pull to the left hand side, get this new strip of Energy Dan as he slips past the Haas. Can he get Mercedes 2? Can he get 2 for 1? There's rear burst heading down towards turn 9. Can Pirelli get ahead? Or is it Scani as we head down towards the breakers? There we go. Now the driver have a penalty, so this is very crucial now for the race indeed, to try and get as many points as you can. But there's contact between the two as he almost lost the rear end of the car. Pirelli just stays ahead for the time being, but it's not the right move. Oh no! Scani has lost it in the wall. Oh, what a shame for Scani there. Just picked up the throttle a bit too early, and he lost it in the wall there. That's his definitely a podium chance going. The man that had 2 wins in a row, and he was looking very strong so far this season, unfortunately has dropped it out of the Mickey Mouse session, and be absolutely fuming with a small mistake like that.
A big shame that, because him and Pirelli were racing really well together, leaving just enough room before that point, and now Scani's race has gone, you've got to admit, gone down the toilet, but that was all his own fault there. It sometimes happens, they learn from this, I'm sure, and be back better next week. But for the battle for the podium, we've got Pirelli now, Energy Dan and Michelin Diaz. That's 3 cars for the battle for P3, so we'll see how that pans out.
Energy Dan in a Haas sandwich there between Pirelli and Michelin Diaz, so it might be a bit difficult for him to get past as well. Both Haas's have run a strong race so far, as they struggled in qualifying. As you can see, Pirelli qualified in P10 and Michelin Diaz qualified in Pirelli qualified in P9, Michelin Diaz qualified P10. So both Haas's there were struggling in terms of qualifying pace, but they always need to make it up when they have to as well during the race, because you've got a longevity of the race as well. Maybe their car is more fixed towards the setup as well, as we see Scani and Keith there, as you can see Scani getting dropped down the order as well, so maybe lost a bit of confidence as well, not maybe pushing anymore, as he lost the motivation to do so after spinning there. That's what tends to happen between these drivers there. They tend to not go for it, as here comes Ronnie down the inside in towards turn 9 we go, or turn 10. Let's see if he can make a stick. He can. He can't go on the outside surely around that corner, but Pirelli and Mr. Riggles there. What have you seen?
Ronnie went for a weird move on Keith, and they almost both ended up going into wall. A bit aggressive, but then I don't think Keith left a lot of room, so I think it's just racing instantly. They were very close to both crashing out there, as Scani has damage, that's why he's going slow, just to let you guys know that Utkosh gets past Oruglas.
Yeah, Scani has almost the entire right side of his front wing absolutely gone, as now Keith's now up on the outside of Scani, but he cannot get that pedal down as he goes into the pits. Maybe he got front wing damage from that incident with Ronnie. Oh, very interesting.
It didn't look like he got any damage, but I wonder what he's doing. Unless he's harder about the top, it makes no sense. He's going fastest lap, but you lose more points in game from that, I would think. Ronnie cuts the corner, but gives the place back anyway to Scani, so it's all good.
I can say Mr. Havlar just backing off there. He is going for the last lap of the Grand Prix indeed. He's played these games before. He's very clever and methodical in terms of overtaking. I would do the same thing as well. Try and stay behind my rival for as long as I can, because there's a big gap right behind us. Indeed, the gap is about 40.5 towards Havlar. So Havlar has 3 laps to try and overtake him on the circuit. I do believe he's going to go for it on the circuit because he wants to win the race on track, not due to penalties. So I think that Havlar might go for it as well, trying to get his first win of the season, making sure that the guy ahead didn't suffer with the penalty. But here we go then. Can he make the move? Is it down towards turn 7? Yes, he is. Side by side with the Ferrari driver as we head down towards the Breaker zone. Oh, what a shame for him as well. We can see the 2 cars going side by side as Havlar takes the lead of the Grand Prix. But Mr. Wiggles has the DRS on the back of the kickstart. But when he get him down towards turn 1, he will. As they go side by side in towards turn 1, it looks like Mr. Wiggles has the advantage. He does. Nice move there as he puts himself into first place once again ahead of Havlar. And there is 2 laps left to go on the Grand Prix then.
Look at Karshko as well. He's done a great comeback job to get back into P5, capitalising on other people's mistakes. And it's very crucial as well for Probelli just to stay ahead of Energy Dan, because Energy Dan might be able to get that penalty removed just to ensure he gets a podium. At the moment, he's just broken DRS. So for Probelli's sake, that's a good sign. And now Karsh looks to be too far back to do anything about it. So
I think Energy Dan is doing some massive lifting coasting because there's only 2 laps left now. And he is dropping way back from Probelli. I don't think he has lost fuel yet, but he is. I think he's doing some insane lifting coasting to try and not run out of fuel.
Yes.
Because he was going incredibly slow in those S's there.
Yeah, I agree. He's still got the yellow fuel thing on his steering wheel, so that's not a good sign for him. Yeah, it looks like he's really lifting and coasting. Yeah, he's underfueled the car.
I'm not surprised though.
He's not missed too much.
I'm not surprised because he expects a safety car around here, but no safety car has been deployed, neither of VSC. So Energy Dan is cruising towards the end. He's on the field, the car, and as you can see, the red light is popping up on his MFD there. So I really hope he can make it towards the end of the Grand Prix, because if he doesn't, that's a huge loss in the championship against Probelli, who's run a fantastic race to get himself back up there in P3. Mitch Andia, who's spun in the Grand Prix as well. But Mr. Wiggles and Havlar, here we go, the final lap of the final Grand Prix. As we see Mr. Wiggles then tries to go on the outside, as he has better grip, but it goes a bit deep in towards the corner. Will that allow Havlar to get alongside him again? He does, as Mr. Wiggles gets another 3-second time penalty as they 2 continue to go side by side in towards the first sector we go. But Havlar just stays in front for the time being then, ahead of Mr. Wiggles there, but there's more DRS zones to come. Mr. Wiggles surely wants to keep it on, wants to win the track, but he knows he can't. He's just going to go for pride for the time being then. So let's see if Mr. Wiggles can do it down towards turn 17 and try and take the provisional lead away from Havlar. And you can see that the DRS line is right there and then.
He needs to be careful. He could lose the position to Probelli now because it's only 5 tenths, because he got 13 seconds, so he's only got 5 tenths of a gap to Probelli. So he needs to just try and stick behind Havlar now and just try and salvage this P2. There's no point in trying to risk it and then lose another position, because he won't get that P1 regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, agreed there.
Exactly, because of the gap, he has a 30-second time penalty, which I completely forgot about. So he needs to keep an eye on Probelli just behind as well. Probelli, could he try and take more points away from Mr. Wiggles and try and boost the championship aspirations, try and get further and extend the lead, because the gap is only 1 point heading towards Miami. But that's about to change as well. But you can see Mr. Wiggles using all the battery he has, but unfortunately he has nothing to respond with as we head down towards the final few corners of this racetrack then. For the first time this season, this man Havlar is going to win the Grand Prix. Havlar wins in Miami for his first time this season.
Energy Dan's out of fuel now.
He's going to lose a heap of time and positions in that. There goes all new glasses coming through. Ronnie will be.
Here comes Probelli as he'll come across the line to finish in P3. The championship leader once again extends his gap further up the field as Karsh finishes in P4. Matty Radisson race to P5. Jerry Oilglass, we barely spoke about, is up to P6 as Energy Dan unfortunately loses a lot of time and loses crucial points in the championship. How detrimental is that run out of fuel for him later on in the Grand Prix? It's definitely detrimental, do you think, guys?
Yeah, he's going to be really kicking himself for that, because an experienced guy like him, he'd be thinking he shouldn't be making them errors. And stuff like that's going to hurt his championship chances. But sometimes it happens and it's just unfortunate. Him and Scani both had a bit of a poor race there. And Probelli did exactly what he needed to do, beating all 3 of his championship rivals, I believe, which is Energy Dan, Scani and Keith.
I'm very happy for Mr. Wiggles because he picked himself a 30-second time penalty, 1 for speeding the pit lane and 1 for invalidated child miss. But Yeah, I'm really impressed with Mr. Wiggles because despite having that penalty hovering over his shoulders, he did a good job to maintain the pace as well and try and keep it towards Havlar. I think he knew in the end that it wasn't worth overtaking Havlar, just keep using it for the DRS as well, and yeah, just try to stay behind him, try to keep the gap over 10 seconds. But do you think, I think podium interviews are necessary around here, guys, if you want to do it, because I'm really excited.
I mean, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm down to do it. Yeah.
Who won the Grand Prix again?
Hello.
It's Halver.
OWR Havlar.
It's Halver, then it was Wiggles and Probelli with the 3 podium guys.
Havlar. And who else?
Wiggles and Probelli. They were the top 3.
Hopefully that's his name. Hopefully I can get him in the pie. Yeah, I've got him invited. So all 3 drivers, they should be invited to podium interviews as the champagne is sprayed in Miami as well. But we return to Miami Grand Prix next week on Saturday and Sunday. But first, before we end the stream, let's see if any of the drivers have something to talk about. Indeed, Havlar, Mr. Wiggles, and Probelli. It's interesting to speak to Probelli because he is a real handy competitor. He did have a slow start to the season with a few mistakes now and then, did Probelli. But ultimately, after them, it's consistency was the way to go for him, even though he's won about 2-3 races this season. So that shows you the amount of consistency that he has, as hopefully we get the people to the party. So I'm going to tag them in global chat. Guys, what do you think about the race?
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was a good race. A load of people made mistakes, and Probelli did exactly what he needed to do. He was the only one of his championship rivals who didn't make a mistake. Of course, Keith with the stop, Energy down with the fuel, and Scania with the spin. So Probelli kept it nice and clean and got a well-deserved P3. That's what he needed to do.
Trying to find
I'm going to point it out
out
that they all kind of got a little bit off the hook with the fact that it was 12 people racing, so they could still salvage a top 10. Although there was more on the cards, then they he could easily have been a P16, a P17, or something like that, but they still managed to get 11, 12 points home, which they can, I guess, can be kind of breathed out, and like the fact that they got let off the hook like that.
They're very lucky with that. It could have been a lot worse for all 3 of them, but they all ended up getting some decent points because of poor attendance today, unfortunately. But it's coming towards the end of the game, and that sometimes happens.
Yeah, unfortunately.
We've got one of our drivers in the podium interviews then, as we'll start with him. Don't want to waste his time. So, Mr. Wiggles, mate, congratulations, Peter. I know deep down you're frustrated inside because that 10-second penalty, it's so brutal. Speed in the pit lane, you can't afford to do so, but unfortunately catches you out as well. And I think you're just trying to stay on the podium. Was that your main highlight for the Grand Prix, just stay on the podium?
That was it, mate, after I got that. Because I couldn't go into the pits because Uktash were in front of me, so I'd have had to double stack. So I did another lap and it just didn't bring up the line early. I should have just slowed down a bit and it'd have been alright, wouldn't it? But that was it, mate. As soon as I got that and I started building that gap, it would just keep that and try and get a podium.
Did you have any doubts in your mind as well? Because I think the guys behind were starting to catch you up slowly but surely, but you managed to keep that gap stabilised over 3 seconds there to keep second place.
Yeah, I had some decent pace, I felt, throughout the race, so I was pretty confident I could get my foot down and just keep that gap, to be honest.
And how did you find the intermediate conditions? Because there's still a lot of people struggling, but when it came to the dry period, you were very strong towards that second half of the Grand Prix as well.
Yeah, I didn't mind it, to be honest. I felt alright in wet. I was saying to Energy Dan in group, I was like, I'm not actually bothered if it stops raining here. I'd prefer it to keep raining, but to be fair, I was pretty quick there and dry, so it all worked out good in the end.
And what's your mind now focused in the next couple of races? Because I have been here for a long time, so apologies about me being rusty. But in terms of the championship, are you still thinking about that? Is there a possibility you can get a championship?
Absolutely not. No, I've had a few shit races and I'm well out of it. So just do what I can.
Focus on
some fun.
Focus on one race at a time, which you're definitely doing, Mr. Wiggles.
Yeah, that's it.
What you got? Any question? Got any question for boys? Laser or Nodders?
Yeah, so what happened in the pits? Did you just overshoot it, or...?
Yeah, so I was, as soon as the DRS come on, I was at pit, but I was right behind Uktash, so I was like, I'm going to have to do another lap. Normally it stays on for a couple of laps, doesn't it, your pit line, but it went off, and I was like, where the fuck is it?
Oh, that's
And just completely mistimed it.
yeah, that's just really bad luck then. The game just being shit, basically.
Yeah,
Well-
just, I blame you, yeah.
No, just got a question for
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. When you were catching Halvor there, and you eventually got past, did you ever think there was a possibility you could build a gap? Because especially when he got a 3 second, you didn't need a full 10, you could only do 7. Was there like a slight thought in your head that you could be able to do that, or was you just focusing on
No,
trying to get
it
that
was
P2?
mainly just staying on that podium, because he were quick Havlaw, so I thought, just if as long as I can get a podium, I'll be happy here.
Yeah, fair enough.
We move on to P2 then. Thank you so much, Mr. Wiggles. You did a fantastic
No
job.
worries, boys.
Fantastic job today. Despite a 10-second penalty, you still managed to finish the podium as well. Because I thought when you picked up the penalty, it was over, but you controlled the pace beautifully, and I think you
You're not
used.
the only one. I thought we were over as well.
Well, thank you very much, mate. That's P2 again. And even though no championship in the next few races, just enjoy the last few races.
Yeah, cheers, boys.
Alright then, so we move on to Pabelli then. So Pabelli, despite a difficult qualifying, and by the way, Pabelli, I'm going to say, it's my first ever time talking to you, so I'm really glad to meet you, mate. And you couldn't lead the championship. You extend the championship gap once again, Pabelli, after your fantastic drive. But it seems like qualifying is starting to let you down just a bit, because obviously we saw Bahrain, I don't want to mention that, and Miami as well here today. So is it qualifying that's just the biggest downfall? Do you have the one-lap pace?
Yeah, I'm not fast enough in quali. I always have good race pace, but not. I don't know. I just can't put a lap together in quali. But the race was it was good. It was hard, very hard.
What possible moment, Pabelli, did you think the championship was, not the championship, the podium was a certainty for you? Because we saw a few people pick themselves up a 3 second penalty, and you were in the speed spot at the right time, because you got Dan all alone as well, able to use the DRS off him. And you remember trying to made some fantastic moves on people as well, as others struggled around this track. You capitalised, and you made some fantastic moves as well, so...
Yeah, I think I managed my ERS very good, so I had a lot of ERS all the time, or not at the end of the lap, but I put it back. And at the last lap, I saw Mr. Wiggles was only like 1.5 seconds in front of me with all his penalties. So I tried everything I could, but I was about 1 second behind him when I crossed the line. So, but I almost had him.
Pabelli, Silverstone.
Sorry?
Nerves going towards the next few races. Nervous now because there's mind is well focused on the championship and maybe a bit nervous. How do you approach the last few races?
Well, the next track is not a favorite, but the 2 last ones I really like. So I'm just going to give it my all, and I think to have good race pace is very important for me. So since I'm not that good at quali, but yeah.
Any questions for him?
No, not really. Just well done. Good
thank you.
race. Yeah.
Yeah, congrats on P3. I believe that helps you move a little bit closer to the championship. Although there's still a lot to do. Of course, 3 races. There's like 4 people that could win it, but
Yeah.
a good race. You didn't make a mistake. So well done for that, and all your other rivals.
Yeah, I was lucky with Energy Dan and Keith's having a bit of a struggle today, so good for me. But
Yeah,
Scan is
definitely.
also coming up fast, so yeah.
Like it's important because they all made their errors and you kept it clean. That's what wins championships: consistency and pace, which you showed today.
Yeah, and I
important.
think that is also one of my strong sides. I try to be as consistent as I can and not get penalties. And yeah, I try to drive as clean as I can. So, and I I think I have a bit of patience, so I don't make stupid moves. Maybe I hope.
No, you're very quick. You're very quick assistant, Pabelli. That's why you're on the way to winning the championship here in the tier 2. So just keep up what you're doing. Even though your qualifying has been a struggle, most important the race.
Yeah.
The qualifier too. I don't know what it is for qualifier, but any single trap I struggle, but all of a sudden I find myself up there fighting. Pabelli, whatever happens in the last few races, I'll be here to commentate it, and I want to wish you the win in the last few races.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, moving is OWR Havlar. Mate, Havlar, fantastic. Your first the season's been a long time coming. You're relieved you got the win. But by the way, sorry, Havlar. Make sure your voice is shared, please. Go to the party says. Someone said in the comment section as well, so let's just give it a double check, shall we? I'll give it a double check right now. I don't think your voice is shared, mate. Can you make sure that's enabled? I'm not quite sure why your voice is not popping up there, but let me check my settings for you. Let's see what happens. I'm not quite sure why your voice is not popping up. Are you sure? Like all your private settings are like set to a public and all that for the time being? Let me just test you once again, Havlar, because I don't want to miss you. Just test you once again, Havlar, because I don't want to miss you. So, Havlar, speak.
Now maybe. Now. Well.
So, Havlar, speak.
Now maybe.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear Clay on stream. Good. So, basically, mate, just go back to the beginning what you were saying.
Yeah, I have been doing, we're in practice earlier, in quali practice, I've been doing like 27.5. So how I managed to do a 26.6 this time, it's, yeah, I'm not sure where I got that from, but it was quite fun. And I knew when we had a wet start, I knew that was my opportunity to get my break from the others. I feel I have a good pace in the inter-tire race startings. So, yeah.
This is the most comfortable. Sorry about that. This is the most comfortable I think you've ever because it's your first one of the season, mate. But yeah, you managed to show a fantastic drive from lap 1 all the way to the beginning. Then, so your first one of the season must be special to do it here in Miami as well. Trying to keep the big boys behind as well in terms of Pabelli. But how does this affect your confidence now going into the next couple of races? Because you're second with the season after you won at the Austrian Grand Prix. Of course you did. That was a fantastic race. And what do you think is going to happen next?
I'm not sure. I'm quite far behind Per Bally, so I don't have a chance there. But maybe I could climb some positions in the remaining laps races, and hopefully I can manage to score consistency. But last race I had like 21 seconds penalties, so. And the last chicane in Miami is quite hard, so But yeah, for the next races, Las Vegas and Netherlands and Silverstone, I think I'll manage okay in those races.
Yeah.
Just yeah, try to make as few mistakes as possible.
Thank you very much, mate. Nice to speak to you, Havlon. Nice to speak to you, Papelli. And I think that's it then for the Miami Grand Prix in Division 3 and in Division 4. Laser Lord and Nordis was here to be until he had to go. But Laser, thank you so much for commentating, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on comp alongside you in the comp spot for the first time ever.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for it. Enjoyed comms with both you and Nordis, and also a massive congrats to Halvor for winning the race.
Thanks.
And yeah, and I look forward to whenever I do it in the future.
And that's it then. We'll move on to the Miami Grand Prix for Tuesday. Make sure you tune in for SF4 Division 2 as Burmeister once again tries to extend his championship lead ahead of second place. And in the actual F1 itself, where it's so close to championship with Oscar Piastri, Max Verstappen and Lando Norris, they race around in Miami next week. But in Division 1, we race around in Miami as well with about 4 or 5 drivers in close contention of a championship. One of them's in the party. It is Nordis, Laser, Jensen as well, and yeah, there's a lot of people involved in the championship fight as well towards the stage. It's Kidame as well and Fireblade, so there's the whole gaggle of cars who are separated by early points as well, so Miami will be very crucial to see who can get the most amount of points, so watch out for them. But thank you so much for now, goodbye for now, and we round off Tier 3, and we'll see you all next Monday at 8 o'clock for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Take care and take care.